Hey guys, what is going on? It's Fen here again. So today we're going to look at my rig that I've created. He is pretty much finished and he will be available for download in the near future. The reason I say near future is because I've started to animate with this guy and I've come up with a few problems that I've basically fixed. So I'm going to do some more animating and I'm going to do a few animations just to make sure the character is actually animatable, and then I will release him. A few of the issues I'll just go through quickly of the problems that I had. One of them being the actual poles. If you don't know what a pole is the direction of the joint, so the elbow or the knee. It's the direction that it will face. If the end point of the bone chain, for example, in this case, it would be this leg control. If it goes past this, it's difficult to imagine, but imagine it like this. Let me grab this, and there's a draw here. So imagine it like this. You have an invisible triangle like this, and that invisible triangle, basically, if that goal passes this section here, it flips on itself to point back. The leg normally faces like that, so the pole should be up here, so the knee is actually facing this. However, if you go past that triangle, it will basically flip on itself, and it will basically, the pole will be down here and the leg will be forced to flip round to face it, so your leg will end up basically, how to put it, it'd be kind of like that. So this would be the knee here. And it's basically being forced to look at this object, so that's why it flips around. Yeah, actually, that draw's pretty cool, actually. But that's pretty much one of the issues that I was running into when animating. I would actually move the pelvis, and of course I would move the legs, and because these poles were not connected to these controls, they would stay back here and the legs would actually flip back on themselves. So of course it just makes sense to move the poles, right? Well, I started to do that and the legs started to do something weird, which was pretty much start to go from side to side. It was really weird and it just wouldn't correct itself. Even when I grabbed this and moved it forward and moved it back in, it still didn't correct itself. So that was an issue. So the solution for that was technically just to parent them underneath these goals. So now if we just reset these, when I move this, the actual pole follows as well, but it only goes to a certain extent. As you can see, once it passes that threshold, because what's happening right now is, get the pen again, I like this tool, it's basically saying from here there's an invisible triangle like that, and if this goal passes this line, if we actually just move this back up, how do I get out of this pen tool, cursor effect, okay, as you can see it actually just starts to flip, which is not what we want. So in order to combat this, if you did want to go to an extreme pose, you would just have to grab this and move it up, and then you could move this up even further. So that's pretty much how you would combat that. That being said, that's one of the issues that I ran into. The other issue was, because I'm using actual geometry as controls for my rig, a lot of people use splines. Now, the problem with using geometry is, when it comes to parenting things, Cinema 4D doesn't like it. So for example, one of the issues I had was when I moved the pelvis, the spine and neck control would stay in position, much like the arms and legs. Now the arms and legs are a problem because they are IK. The spine and neck controls are IK. So the problem would be that when I tried to rotate it, I couldn't really get an accurate representation because the control was all the way over here. So what I've had to do is parent these under the bones or joints, and the problem that I'm getting now is when I want to rotate this, let's say I want to rotate him like this, once I hit reset PSR, he moves back, but the actual geometry control doesn't. So I have to hit the PSR again in order to reset the control. So it is just an extra click, but I would have liked for it not to be like that. I'm not sure why it is doing that. With splines, it doesn't do that. Splines just go back. But for me personally, I hate click on splines. They're such a pain in the bum. So I'm not a big fan of using the splines. That's why I've always got geometry like this. And one of the things that I noticed when I was animating as well is I was getting confused with the controls, because if we go into the right view, we can see the color of the actual controls, but on the previous rig when I started animating, they were all orange, so it was very difficult to make sure I was actually selecting the right one, because when I came to do something like this, I got confused. I'm like, is it this leg? No, which one is it? Is it this one? And I just totally got confused. So now that I can actually differentiate between them with red and blue, and green obviously being the center, it's very easy now to animate, and especially not get confused when you are trying to get them fine details in and make sure his foot isn't going through the floor and all that kind of stuff. So they're the issues with the rig, and they're kind of the solutions that I've got. Besides that, the guy is pretty good. I'm really happy with how he's turned out. You know, I've seen a lot of rigs out there. There's a lot of channels that I watch with Minecraft animations, and there's a lot of rigs that they've created or someone else has created. And one of the things that I see a lot of is that they've got like all these controls in the viewport, and it's like, I look at it and I think, can you really animate like that? For me personally, having all that junk on the screen is just, it's so off-putting. Especially when, like now, it would be okay because it's just a character in a blank canvas. But when you actually implement this guy into a world scenario, and you've got all these blocks and all these cameras, and you know, it depending on what you're using, particles or all this stuff that you've added to your animation, and then you've got all this stuff on the screen, it just makes it so much complicated, and I don't like it. That's why I've designed my rig to be a little bit different, which I will talk about. But first, let's have a look at the base character features. So if you click on the null at the bottom here, it selects the entire character. Alternatively, you can click the character up here in the Objects Manager, and these are the ones you're going to get. So you can actually name your character. It's interactive, so you can just put Billy Pooh, and it will basically update. And the reason I put this in is because when you've got multiple characters, it's going to be nice to see which character's which, especially when you can see that this one is called Billy Bob or Billy Pooh, and this one over here is called Dave, and so on and so forth. So it's very nice to actually name these. Again, you can change the height of these. You can 0, which basically makes it invisible, and then 100%, which is this big. I like to leave it on about 15 personally. You can also change the skin. Now when you do come and change your skin, and when you're using this rig to change it, you're going to have to change a few other things, which is basically the colouring. So there's a few colours here. We've got the eyebrow colour, we've got the pupil colour, we've got the inner mouth colour, which is basically inside of his mouth. We also have the teeth colour, and we have the hands colour. So let me just switch out this skin to this one on my desktop, and you can see so far he looks okay. So we've got him here, we render him out. His fingers aren't exactly the same colour as his hands here. So what you would do is you would grab his hand colour, choose colour, and basically choose the one over here. And then it will basically, when you render out again, it will be matched. And that's technically what you want to do to match the colours. Like if his arms were red, like he's got a red top on or something like that, then you would just change the colour to that. Also, again, you can change his teeth colour. I'll just zoom in and change these colours so you can see what they kind of change to. Of course, the inner mouth you won't be able to see unless we actually go inside of his mouth, which is there. So that's the inside of his mouth. And of course we have this colour as well, which is his teeth. You know, characters can have white teeth, they can have yellow teeth, they could have no teeth, so you maybe want to put these as transparent. Entirely up to you. But that's pretty much the colour controls. We also have the option to turn off or on his nose. So for me personally, I really like his nose. The nose is one of the things that I really enjoy about this character, and that's why I've got the option to turn it off or on, because I know not a lot of people might not want to have a nose because it's not traditional to Minecraft, so you might want to turn it off, and basically it just renders out as so. Also, you can see that there's a little bit of texture stretching in here. You'll have to dampen that down with the actual texture. There's no real way to get around it. If you think this is okay, then fair enough, but that's why I've actually dampened down the texture. I've basically just lowered the opacity so it's not as noticeable from a distance, but obviously close up it is. Also, you've got the ability to turn off his eyebrows if you so wish. Don't know why I put that in there, just thought it'd be interesting. So that's the base characters. I'm actually going to change his skin back because I like this one. So let's have a look at his head features, his face features if you like. So where are they? Do you want to search? Nope, you don't want to search through there. Close that up, you don't need it. What you need to do is just click on this here, just this neck controller. It makes sense to me personally. If you're going to be using the head controller to adjust his head, then why not make it so that you can have all the user data on that object as well, instead of clicking on these stupid little icons at the side and stuff like that just to get to the same thing. You might as well have it all under one roof. And that's pretty much my motto for this character. So basically under here we've got the eyebrow movements. So, you know, you can make many different you know, combinations of expressions with these controls. You've got individual eyebrow movements. You also have universal eyebrow movements, which basically controls both. Now, don't forget, one thing to note, when you're using user data, that each control has to equal 100%. So, for example, if I put 50% of the universal data and then put another 50% of the normal eyebrow, you will get the exact same as 100%. If you go past that, you're going to make the eyebrow go way past, because now it's 150% total. So keep that in mind when you're animating. If you want it to the actual top, just use 1. If you want it to be 200%, so his eyebrows are like floating, then by all means do that. But generally you don't want to do that. You want to either use one or the other. Again, with the eyebrows, you've got the tilt for each eyebrow, so you can make him very mean and angry. I'm going to put these back to 0. So that's the eyebrows. Next one, we've got the eyelids. Again, we've got individual eyelids. We also have a universal eyelids as well. So very, very self-explanatory. Pupils, we've got individual eye movements. We have eye movements together. We also have the scale of individual eyes up and down. We also have the universal control to scale them both up and both down. So I'm going to 0 these out again. And there we go. And that's the pupils. So onto the mouth. The mouth has 3 controls. They're pretty simplistic controls, but they get the job done. I know a lot of people actually rig their mouth with bones. I was doing that in the first place, but I thought, why, when morphs are just as good? I'm used to morphs anyways. So basically you've got the open and close mouth here. So you, up and down is going to open it up, open wide and close. Left and right will bring it inwards, so you can make them O letters and stuff like that. What else can you do? You can make a frown, so you can make him smile or frown. Now you can basically blend these together, so you can make a very open frown, like he's crying, and of course you won't be able to see anything unless you adjust the teeth, so you can adjust the teeth here, and now he's like really shocked. And of course you can dampen this down. It depends how extreme you want to go. Maybe you don't want the frown to be that exact, So something along this line might look good. And again, you can see the inner of his mouth. So if we go back to his mouth and we can actually adjust the color of this to make it a lot darker, like so. And we render out, you can see, looks pretty damn cool in my opinion. Let's go back to the actual controls for the teeth, and yeah, of course you can bring these down, bring this down as well, and maybe make it a little bit, let's make him happy, because he's definitely happy about this rig. And let's just give that a nice adjustment. There we go. He is extremely happy right now. You know why? Because he likes this rig. So that's pretty much it for the actual facial features. How do we control his fingers? Because fingers are pretty important in Minecraft. How else would he grab anything? I think fingers are one of them things, like the nose. Do you want to make the character look realistic as a human, or do you want to make him look realistic as a Minecraft? Because, you know, they are two different things, even though he is based off, you know, a person. You know, why would he have a name like Steve if you didn't? But, you know, I like the fingers. I really think a character, especially in animations, should have fingers, because it's gonna give that character a lot more dynamic in terms of what he's able to do. So yeah, so how do you get to him? Well, simply put, you basically just click on the controller and you've got all the controls here to move all of his fingers, which are really, really cool. So really happy with the way his fingers have turned out. They're pretty decent. They're not perfect. There's a lot more that could be done with this, but for now, I think for the first official rig, I think it's pretty damn decent. Again, you can select the other arm as well. So yeah, how am I able to select these controls really easily? Well, one of the things that I've done is I've actually put all the geometry onto its own layer, and I've locked that layer. The reason I've locked the layer is because if you sometimes try to click this, even with these big fat controllers, you still might select different arms and stuff. So to basically combat that, I've done two things. If you forget to unlock it or either lock it, then you still can't move it because it's got a protection tag on, and all of these things have protection tags. So that's really, really cool. But I would suggest just locking it because it's the most safest thing to do. And as you can see, you can just hover over, click, and you actually get the actual control. And you know, it's just so much better to do it this way. Also, you know, the bones are basically invisible right now. Because I find the bones very distracting. So if I turn them off, the only thing that I need to worry about is the actual controls. And we've got the controls here. Again, you can hide them if you wish, but obviously there's no point hiding them if you need to animate the character. And then the extras are pretty much just the nulls of the controls and pulls. Because I'm using custom geometry, we don't need to see them. If you go into the character, you can see they're here under hidden stuff, and they're all here. And again, the bones are here as well, and the controls are up here. So that is pretty much the character. So let me know what you guys think about the character. What do you think could be added to make this character even better? Shortly, for over the next week, you're probably going to see an animation released on this channel, because I'm actually going to be working on one to get the animation out, not only to show you guys how the rig interacts, but also for my own experience, because I haven't really done any animation as a character. I've done the odd animation with dynamics and all that kind of stuff, but it's not the same as actually manually editing and controlling a character. So there's a lot of experience that needs to be gained, and the only way I can get that is by doing animations. So you're going to see a lot of animations. If you've got any suggestions for what kind of animations to do, something that you might find funny, then please leave a comment about that as well. And that's pretty much it. So guys, thank you very much for your support. I really appreciate all the comments that I get, and I'm looking forward to releasing these animations. Again, if you've got any suggestions, leave that info in the comments, and I shall catch you guys in the next episode, which will hopefully be an animation. Okay guys, peace.